Man, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
It's great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Man, I've met you, almost when I first started the gym in 2009 in Encino.
Yeah, the very beginning of 2009.
And the first legacy, then we turned into Gracie Baja.
When did it turn to Gracie Baja? Was
2010, I think.
yeah, at the end of 2010.
10, yeah. Because we had the Pasadena gym already.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the first, before it was even open. You guys were just doing open mats.
Open mat.
Just
yeah, you came for that. That's
yeah.
right.
I talked to Homo about doing a private lesson. That's what happened. He was like, "Man, just come and train."
Yeah.
And
the early days, right?
Yeah, it was
Man,
great.
That's crazy.
You were there. It was just you and Homo there.
Yeah. We're building the gym.
Yeah. It was small too.
Yeah, it was tiny,
really
tiny.
Small. Before
it was like,
you even knocked out the other wall.
Right. It was like maybe like 1,000 or 1,500 square feet.
I just remember the green mats, and then remember on the wall, you had the bags that were kind of
right. I was trying to keep it MMA.
Yeah, and then
get some striking elements in the jiu-jitsu, you know.
And Edwin and Aaron would always sit on the wall, the pads that we would take off the wall to put down, and
as chairs,
sit there and fight all the time. And it was like
great.
They're like 15 years old at the time, I think. So it was like the kids in the academy, you know.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Edwin Najmi was like 16. I think, you know, he was a kid.
Not even yet. 15.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Driving
wow, yeah. And I didn't realize that, you know, he told because we hung out in Armenia, that he told the guys, yeah, I gave him his blue belt. I'm like, oh, really? That's crazy, you know, because the years go by, you know. But it was real
changed
kind of, it was kind of, yeah, it was traumatic, right? When we kind of, me and Hamlo went our own ways, you know. But Edwin's always awesome, you know.
And a great guy.
Yeah, so's Hamlo, you know. So
everybody stayed pretty when everybody left, and he went to Open Northridge and
yeah.
Open Legacy. Everybody did.
Yeah,
it's good. I'm happy for Edwin. If you see him, when we looked at him before when he first came.
Yeah.
in.
No, he always he basically immersed himself into jiu-jitsu.
Man, one of the best now, isn't he?
Yeah, it's amazing, man. The Air Najmi, you know, like. You know, because he was, it's a grind, right? And you follow, of course, you follow all the kids, right?
Yeah.
And so him, you know, it's like almost losing quarterfinals, you know, grinding, blue belt, purple belt, and then he won the purple belt absolute with the flying triangle.
With a guy now who's arguably Marigali, I think, is maybe one of the top 3 best jiu-jitsu fighters of all time. Edwin tapped him, you know.
And then it was on. Then he believed, you know, and then he just went on a run.
First year black belt, losing to Lucas Lepre again. Arguably one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters ever.
For sure.
It's pretty amazing.
No, it's amazing, man. Amazing, you know. Super proud of him, and yeah, just the journey, you know. Right, you have to appreciate, you know, seeing his family, like you know, all the friends and supporters in the stands and. And, you know, people can quit, right? They can quit when the going gets tough.
Yeah, true. That's what it's like when just now we talk about this, I look back at the whole legacy of Encino and, like, how many things, like, watching Homolo. I remember the night before the Pan Ams, he hurt his knee real bad. His knee was, like, the size of a cantaloupe. We were at the hospital, and crazy guy was like, oh, man, I have something wrong. And then went and fought the Pan Ams and won, you know.
Yeah, he's so tough, man. So tough.
Oh,
that's one of the things I really always admired about him. You know, just his mental toughness.
Victor Estima came to Legacy. Lucas Hosha was a purple belt, had not even living in America. Bruno, what was Bruno's last name? I'm
with the A, right? He went to Singapore.
Yeah.
Amado.
I think so.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Hoyler, you know, little Hoyler. He passed from cancer.
Oh man, that's what
we got a lot of guys coming through. Samuel Braga, right?
Yeah, so many people are always in Legacy before.
They closed the bracket with what's his name from Houston now.
Even before jiu-jitsu was big in America, that was like
we had that who's who, but we had MMA guys coming through because I was still fighting MMA, right? Like everybody, you know, Mayhem, and you know, and actually, what's funny is because it was Legacy, right? And remember Legacy Fighting Championship? So after some years, I was like, when I came back, I was gonna start. You know, I was Gracie, but then Master Carlos Gracie asked me to, you know, be Gracie Baja, and of course I'm not gonna say no, you know. So I switched over, told my wife, hey, I'm doing this. And she's like, oh, you know, of course, you know, but you know, of course I'm going to do that. And then I went back to Legacy, right, after some years, and I was like, let me set up everything right, the trademarks and everything. And Legacy Fighting Championship had trademarked Legacy, you know, with martial arts and stuff. And so then we had a what do you call it? A pre kind of, you know, prior use.
Oh, wow.
And I had Mayhem and Right Rear Shonen, and I had the Who's Who kind of in there. And what was funny is they kind of used like the same fonts and everything that I used.
Yeah.
Well, it was just interesting, and they were a big organization, right? Like Lovato.
It was a big organization.
Big, right? They were big feeder to the UFC. It was like probably the number 2 maybe in the country, right?
Yeah.
And so I was gonna have to go up to, but luckily they like let us have it, you know. Yeah,
oh, wow.
and they actually changed the name to like RFA or something, the Resurrection Fight, you know, or Fighting Alliance or something, or LF Legacy, something like where they joined forces, you know.
I don't know. I just kind of.
Yeah, you know, follow all that MMA. You have enough Jiu-Jitsu and Judo stuff, right?
And MMA now, it's even Gilbert. You know, Gilbert's fighting for the title.
Right, it's amazing.
Weekend,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
This week,
yeah, we're bringing I think Gilbert around too, right? At that time,
Gilbert was coming in. And,
yeah, it's crazy.
Gilbert Burns. I'm even nervous. This whole week is going to be like, I already have sweat on my palms every time you think about Gilbert's fighting for the title. It's like, oh my God, you know.
But we got reconnected because I think I made a post on Instagram. I was in Santa Fe, and you're like, man, in Santa Fe, what are you doing in Santa Fe? I'm from my family. I'm from, because you're from Texas, Amarillo.
Yeah, Amarillo, Texas.
And you probably spend your summers.
Yeah, well, weekends. It was a 3-hour drive from us, so that's where we went for whenever it was winter. We would skip school to go snowboarding. You know, it was like that's
from
where
Amarillo.
we went. Yeah, because it was so fast.
Yeah,
you could do day trips.
And you guys had a house literally like a block away from my family's house. My mom's, my grandparents' house.
It's like half a block away.
That's crazy.
I can't believe that's like crazy. That's kind of weird. Almost like,
yeah, it's kind of weird. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Are you kidding me?
Full circle of, you know.
Out of all the people, all the places, and our history, and then just not randomly, oh yeah, I spent like all these years on Don Gasper in Santa Fe.
Man, love that place. Santa Fe is the hidden gem of America. I truly believe that. People, nobody's even heard of it half the time. But once you get up in there, you're like, man, this place is so beautiful, so peaceful. The Indian reservations, you know, the square, buying
plaza,
real turquoise, and they come and sit. You know,
they tore down that centerpiece. Did you see that? Hear about that?
I didn't.
Yeah, like during the protests and stuff, they tore down the centerpiece in the plaza.
That's ridiculous. How could you do that?
Yeah,
oh, I didn't hear about that.
So they have a box or something there now, you know, like boarded up, you know.
Oldest church in America is there.
Yeah, oldest house, oldest church, right? A lot of people don't know that the Spanish came up before the English.
Yeah, there's the
Loretta Chapel. Yeah, Loretta Chapel.
Yeah,
staircase.
Nothing. There's no
like a miracle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Without nails, right? Something like that.
No nails, no bolts, nothing. It's just put together.
Yeah.
I don't.
Solid after
I don't get
100 years,
I don't
right?
get it. It's pretty impressive. But just to walk the square, you know, the people are so nice. It's like almost New York, if you think about it. All the people from the East Coast go there, and the art galleries. And I think it's like number 3 in the United States of art galleries, Santa Fe. You know, then the slopes are right there
behind New York City and LA. I think.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, it's good. It is a beautiful place. We got to go there. We got to reclaim Santa Fe.
You know, I go every Christmas pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same. I'm there almost every Christmas.
So hopefully it opens up more this next year. But we got to go, man, for Christmas.
Oh, for sure.
Introduce you to some of the guys.
Yeah, I would love it. Because I know that you started the Gracie Bajas there long
it was
time
like
ago.
Santa Fe Jiu-Jitsu, right? We always represented Gracie Baja, but it was called something Santa Fe Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
It was the first gym, and probably the Southwest.
I think so.
Yeah.
Even Santa Fe and Albuquerque were.
Well, I started. Santa Fe was the original one, you know, and then we expanded to Albuquerque.
Wow, I thought it was opposite.
Yeah, and then you know, Albuquerque is the bigger city, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier.
Albuquerque, not too many people here at Santa Fe.
Yeah, so it's a lot easier to do business, you know, there.
But it's crazy because it's way more beautiful in Santa Fe than it is in Albuquerque.
Right.
So you would think that But anyway,
it's a tough market, right? Because there's not a lot of people.
Nope.
And most people don't have money.
True.
So it's hard to kind of do business there. Just that's my experience, you know. And it gave me a lot of confidence coming to LA. Like if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere.
I think Legacy made it pretty well. From Encino to now, I think it's gone pretty far, man. I think it's gone pretty far.
I love it, you know. I love it, right? We love it.
Yeah.
And helps people. I believe in it with everything I am. So, you know, just paying it forward, you know, it's changed my life, you know, helped my life.
Not too many. I think, again, going back into history, not a lot of people actually really know the sacrifice you did. You lived in Brazil, you know. It's living in Brazil is different. Not a lot of Americans go to live there, you know. So going there to vacation is one thing, but, you know, living in, I've never been to BH, but
Belo Horizonte, yeah.
There's no ocean. There's no, like, it's not like what real everybody thinks of. You go to Brazil and it's this amazing life of beach and women and acai and everything's great, but it's not like that.
I went to Rio first, and then I met Draculino. I went to visit Belo Horizonte, and Draculino was just starting.
Oh, wow.
And then I was like, okay, when I move, I'm gonna come back, and when I move here, I'm gonna go to Belo Horizonte, and it was only whites and blues. And then I ended up being in the first group of black belts, right? The first, like, you know, the first wave. And so he really put everything into us, you know? But
they're one of the best gyms ever.
Yeah, for sure. Right. you're what do you call it? Connoisseur on
not even
people winning things, jiu-jitsu and world championships and world champions. And
even today, the guys that are still so good, they come from Draculino's Gracie Baja, you know? Yeah. I don't know what it is over there in the water, but
the water, right?
everybody that comes from Belo Horizonte is different level, you know. Yeah. It's kind of like Manaus, right? All the guys from Manaus, a lot of the guys were like Bibiano, Jacare, Shanji, Salo, Adi Farias.
Yeah, all
those guys are, you know,
another level.
Then you go to BH, and everybody that comes out of there is like, "Hey, what are you eating?"
You know what's funny is Draculino is we laugh about it because usually it's like poor guys, you know, and from the favelas they're hungry, right, to do something, right, are the ones that are successful in the tournaments and win, you know, become world champions and stuff. But actually in Belo Horizonte, most of the guys are like pretty well off, you know. They live, you know, like they're pretty well off. Like Homolo, not so much, but most of the guys, you know, a lot of the guys, they're pretty well off, you know.
I've heard that. I mean, definitely Homolo didn't come from, you know, Homolo was just another, that's a whole new other legend story, from that place. Yeah. Just him alone is one story.
Yeah.
What was the guy, Eric Vonderlei?
Right. Felipe Pena.
Yeah, those guys, they're definitely not hurting.
Yeah.
But
usually, it's like a lot of the guys, like Fred Paixão, all these guys, like they're from nothing. Yeah.
It's crazy to think. It's different because those guys are. I don't know what Drac was doing. Whatever he was doing, it worked.
It worked, right?
It's still working today.
It's like he really built a legacy. He put his heart and soul into us. Always like a man of integrity. What he said went, and if we were wrong, he put us in our place. You know, if you don't want to hear it and you were wrong, he made sure you knew you were wrong. You know, he took the hits and keep moving forward, and you know, gave us his all. You know, and I think that's why we're all so interconnected, and I hope to continue that same kind of, you know, it's his legacy really, right? That I do here.
I would
you know?
think so. Everybody from Draculino has there's a core to everybody. If you look down the line, I think Draculino really is a staple more. You know, Master Carlos is a staple, but when you think of Gracie Baja now, I think you really think of Draculino and then the lineage of Draculino. Samuel Braga, Homolo, Felipe, Gabriel Arges, too, came from there. You can't forget how good he is. You know, Teach.
You know, and then the MMA too, right? We had, you know, Sapon, a lot of the MMA guys, and we were a jiu-jitsu school, but man, for that, we had tough guys, man. You know, UFC vets, you know.
True.
And guys that have jiu-jitsu guys that have helped, right? MMA guys, and so it's.
I guess I've never been, but all the stories, like when you go to BH and you go to the Gracie Baja, there's like 100 black belts that are like monsters.
Yeah.
Homelo talks about them all the time. There's like, there's guys in there that I get training from that have real jobs.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing, right?
Tio Chico, perfect example.
Yeah.
That guy's
Uncle. I think it's translation's Uncle Fester.
That guy's like,
he grew up on the mats. He's Felipe Peña's brother, right?
He's so good. He's so good. Has a real job. Comes and trains once, kills everybody. Comes to the world champion and loses on an advantage to a guy who's competing every day, all day. And
Cranivata. If you know Felipe Cranivata.
I don't know.
And both of those guys had like crazy matches with Andre Galvão, you know?
Oh yeah. I remember that guy.
Felipe Cranivata. He was like a model, and he had, he's like also he's just kind of a hobby. But he came in, and I think he won the adult division at one of the IBJJF just for fun, you know?
Yeah.
But there's so many guys like that there.
Wow. I want to go. That's one place I want to go.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
I would love to go there.
Let's go.
I've been to the north and the south.
You've never been to Belo Horizonte, huh?
I never went to Belo Horizonte. So, and lately too, I've been looking, and I'm like, man, I really want to get back to Brazil, because man, living in Rio Claro where I lived was very small, nothing. Like it was.
You lived in. Let's go there. So, did you start with judo or with jiu-jitsu first?
I started with judo. So,
and you're from Amarillo, Texas.
Amarillo, Texas, yeah. One of my closest friends, Chad Estes. So he's his stepdad was the judo guy in Amarillo. So I was able to start with Chad, and he's another like hidden gem. Chad Estes he's so good in judo, but now he builds famous motorcycles and cars. So it's kind of, and then I think at the time,
did he compete? He competed, and
yeah, he was just about to go to Japan, and he was gonna live and stay there, and he broke his leg.
Oh wow.
So it's everything shifted. He had his daughter and everything. Okay. So he was like, you know what, I'm gonna focus on my life, and he's very, very, very successful. Like if you ever want to, the guy builds the most beautiful motorcycles. You know, he's perfect about everything he does, and
he's in Amarillo, Texas.
He's in Amarillo, Texas. Yeah. Unfortunately, he doesn't train as much, but I wish he did. He's extremely good. And then he had his brother Lindy, who was really good. So, and then growing up in Amarillo and then Dallas, because it's so close, Eastside Dojo was like a dojo with Ken Patterson and Ken Shiloh, who are really good coaches.
Nice.
So,
and how old were you when you started?
Oh man,
playing around with it.
Yeah, when we were kids, we started judo.
Okay.
Kids, and then
we
stopped because it was boring, and then jiu-jitsu kind of came in. At the time, Carlos Machado had ended up in Texas. Why? I have no idea. Why he chose Texas. And
I think because Chuck Norris, you know, because I actually went there back in, I don't know, 96, 97, and to train with him. Oh, wow. And I went inside the Walker Texas Rangers studio to train with him. That's where he was at. You know, like Tim Burrell, like Kathy Brothers, like I think it was even before Clay Pittman's time, you know.
Man.
But a lot of those guys, Travis Luter, I think, you know, all those guys, you know, were there, and you had to walk through the studio to get there.
Man, remember James Brown?
James Brown, yes, he was from Lubbock, right, as well.
Yeah,
he was the bouncer that went. Good. He's blind, right?
No. He's now a chiropractor.
Okay.
It was the other guy. Who was the? He fought in the UFC too. You would know you know him really well. I just can't think of his name.
Not Travis Luter.
It was not Travis. It was a smaller guy.
You'll think about it after we're talking about something else. But there's so many good. There was so much talent there, right?
Yeah.
There's so much talent there, and Carlos Machado. I mean, out of all the there was not that many gyms, but Carlos Machado was one of the guys that brought up talent. You know,
everybody.
Yeah,
Lovato.
Yeah.
Lovato Jr.
Yeah.
From Carlos, you know, and then started to train with Salo and Shanji, and obviously became who he is, you know.
Right.
Same. You know, he's from the old school too, and not a lot of people realize how much he sacrificed, you know, because not all of us are from Los Angeles. Like the kids today, man, they're in Los Angeles, where every amazing jiu-jitsu fighter of every era is now here, you know.
Yeah.
Santa Fe, Amarillo, the guys like Lubbock, you know,
right.
Oklahoma City. A lot of the guys around there have had some pretty good careers, you know. Traveling out, he went to Brazil in your time. You were in Brazil. Right. I was way later than you guys.
Okay, so you're a judo coach. Start talking about everybody else. I want to know about you. So you had the judo coaches, and you started when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, from Dallas and also in Lubbock, right?
Amarillo.
Sorry,
Lubbock.
Amarillo, and what I remember driving through Amarillo is always there's like that big steak place. Like you get a free steak. Big Texan.
Still
if you eat the steak, it's like, how big is it?
72-ounce steak.
72-ounce steak.
Yeah,
you don't have to pay for it.
No, but you got to eat the salad, the mashed potatoes, and the fat that comes with the steak. I mean, it's a fatty steak, so it's like brutal. So that's where they came up with the movie with John Candy or whatever.
Okay.
Great Outdoors.
Great Outdoors. Okay.
That's the whole idea of the steak, if you can eat it all, is from.
But I remember driving through and always seeing the billboards, and when you're a kid, I saw it as a kid. I remember kind of thinking like, man, I want a free steak, I want to eat the whole thing. Just kind of dream about it, And then I'm like, then you kind of start thinking about how you would feel after eating a 72-ounce steak, and you're like,
One of my high school friends actually ended up working there, and my whole childhood I never went. We never went. You would never go. It was out on I-40, like it was down closer to almost getting outside of town, so it's kind of far. Well, I mean, let's say not far. Amarillo's tiny. There's no far nothing. It's like 10 minutes here, and we come to LA. It's like far. It's like But yeah, I went for the first time when he got his job, and this was after I was already out of high school and everything. But yeah, so starting with judo was good, Tim, Joe, and Chad, it's all about discipline and everything. And jiu-jitsu was a little bit more fun because it's easier to learn jiu-jitsu than judo, if I'm honest, because judo requires so much perfection to make it look beautiful, Like, to do everything right in judo, it's step by step by step. You have gripping, then you have your footwork, and then you have to get those to manage together. Then you have to get off balancing. This is before you have to learn how to break fall so you don't get injured.
So how did you find jiu-jitsu?
Carlos Machado moved. So we were all
Dallas.
talking about it, and it was like, let's go.
Nice.
And it was way more exciting because you got all these movements and jumping and flying and rolling and doing all these crazy things. You're like, you don't do that in judo.
What year was that?
Man, this is in 98.
98.
97, 98, we were in high school. We were just getting out of high school.
So he had moved out of the Chuck Norris place, or he had his own place?
He had his own place on Midway in Dallas. Midway in the 635. Small. It was kind of like Legacy. It was like a little warehouse that had the roll-up door and then the office and the mat spaces. But all the guys were in there. Travis Luter and all those were already training with Carlos. And Carlos was still young at the time and training with everybody. And, man, like all of them, John Jock and all, watching those guys train still, they're way older and they move so beautiful. And if I could go back in time, I would try to be more like John Jock. My jiu-jitsu now is more rough and like power, not smooth at all, and you look at John Jock and those guys are so smooth. Yeah. I wish I could be a smoother guy than I am.
I always look at Draculino like that, just so smooth, no effort, small guy, skinny guy. You're like, no way, this guy can beat you,
Easy
and,
to,
yeah.
And he's still training too, Draculino now, still training with everybody, still doing things.
Yeah.
John Jock is still training.
Yep.
I don't think I'm going to be training like them whenever I'm that age.
We got to get you doing the tack foot stuff, and you'll be good. You'll be good. Got to keep moving,
Yeah, it's crazy how that all works. Even Chiron, like the guys that I really look up to for jiu-jitsu, what I would like to be is I'd like to be very smooth, and like Jefferson Mora is like that. That guy. People don't talk about him so much. Bruno Fernando, who's in Montreal, how beautiful his jiu-jitsu is. You guys all grew up with him.
Do you know Renato Miragaya?
No, I don't.
Okay, him and Bruno were like closed the bracket together a few times. I think there were a couple times world champions, and Renato Miragaya never got his black belt. It was like his brother did, who wasn't like even half as successful as him, But I, you know how it is,
Wow.
But that's how it should be, actually. I think that's how it should be. You shouldn't know, I do this amount of years, I do that, I win this, I win that. You never know until you actually get it. That's how life is, right?
It was different back then, wasn't it? I remember.
Yeah, but I think it's part of that should stay,
I wish it would stay. I wish that now the belt ceremony stuff, okay, I get it and everything, but that time I remember when I got my brown belt, it was like that. I had no idea. It was from, I trained with John Jock because when I moved to LA, I trained with Carlos.
I was curious about that, yeah. So let's go back, yeah. So you started with Carlos Machado.
Yeah.
And then In Dallas.
In Dallas.
And you're training there till to what belt?
Blue, purple, just before I got my purple.
Just before you got your purple belt.
And then John Jock gave me my purple.
And then you moved to LA. And what brought you to LA?
Man, it was crazy enough. I used to work. Yeah, this is where people get like. I ended up working for this company called Vidal Sassoon. So
you were a hairdresser.
Yeah, I went to cut hair. And
when I was introducing, he was a badass hairdresser, and then he just but he likes throwing people on their head and choking them out. It was kind of funny how it all worked out. I don't know how I ended up doing it, and then I ended up being good at it. But I remember we came to LA to go to school. I didn't really want to go to college, obviously. I tried my luck at snowboarding. And I was good. I was a pro, but I wasn't good enough to be like good. I was just good enough to be there. So I ended up kind of getting hurt, and it was like, you're done. You're done. So I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I went to Rhode Island to go to the chef school to be like, oh, I'm going to be a chef. It'll be great. It'll be fun. No, it wasn't. It was like way too much work. And then I was like, well, I don't want to be fat. So if nobody's going to eat my food unless I'm big, kind of, like, hey. This is my mentality. It's great. Then really close family friends were like, oh, you should go to hair school. I was like, no. This is in Texas.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, well, I'll take you to Vidal Sassoon. Okay, let's go. Walked in, looked around, and was like, how long do I got to stay here? 10 months? There are a lot of beautiful things on.
You're like, I don't mind.
I was like, okay, I can handle this, So I started. I remember we looked at the school on a Saturday. And I ended up starting on a Monday, and I was completely lost. I was horrible. I was really bad. Later, my boss at the time was like, you should just find a new career because you're not good at this. And then I don't know how it happened. Just one day it switched, and then it all kind of made sense. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to be the best, because I was always, everything that I put my mind to, I was always like at the top level of it. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. But cutting hair is kind of boring, it's fun, but it's boring. So I was still training and trying to compete. And at the time, Jiu-Jitsu wasn't big in America at all. And
there weren't that many tournaments.
Coming from John Jock's, we would beat everybody at all the tournaments because, again, John Jock was still training and he was younger. And
he had good technique. He's John Jock.
I remember he would put us all against the wall and just beat us all bad. Yeah. Like really bad. Everybody. And then I was like, man, this guy's phenomenal. And then, later everybody I trained, Homelo did the same thing twice, but Homelo did it to all world champions, not just regular guys. He used to put us against the wall the same. So anyway, I started there, and then we were competing, and it was fun. And then I kind of was like, man, I want to do this for like I want to. At the time,
you want to make a living doing cutting hair?
Yeah, well, I was still working cutting hair. I was doing good. I was a creative director for the company. We were big time. We were. I was actually pretty good. Like I wasn't just like a normal haircut. I worked in the academies. I was teaching the whole time and creating, and it was fun. But I didn't really fit the mold because I definitely don't fit the mold of any kind of hairdresser.
When I first met you, I was like, oh, what do you do, man? I'm a hairdresser. I'm like, okay.
People used to, especially being a creative director for the company, I was supposed to have a certain look, and I never did. And what's really funny, what I love about Vidal, the person, Mr. Vidal Sassoon, was he was very disciplined. He believed in fitness and health, and he didn't believe in, like, most hairdressers are known for partying and having a good lifestyle, but Vidal was very against that. Until the day he died, he was doing Pilates. Wow. So he was very about, he even wrote a book with his wife, a health book. So I would encourage everybody to go read that book about him, because
it's about his biography.
Yeah, it's just Vidal Sassoon biography.
Oh, okay.
Talks about how
check it out.
He was Jewish, and he went to go fight in the war. He just left. His mom couldn't afford him. He grew up as an orphanage, and
wow,
it's a great story about his life.
Where did he grow up?
In London, East London, which was really dodgy at the time. So then he went to go fight with the freedom fighters, and he's like came back and didn't know what to do. So he ended up becoming a hairdresser, and then revolutionized this whole movement of. So I'm really glad that I did that, because it kind of made me who I am as that man.
Open up your mind.
Yeah, a lot. But it kind of made me crazy too. So this is why, like, people are like, I have OCD real bad about perfection and everything, because the whole philosophy behind everything was about perfection. So it's kind of funny at the time because that's whenever we really met. When you guys opened the gym, was kind of at this time where I was like, man, I really want to do more, you know. And then Homelo was like, at the time there wasn't a lot of people training, so I would go and just get beat up bad by Homelo all the time. I still have nightmares. I still feel
choke the face.
I still feel
choke the
things.
face.
Yeah, I still feel things from 2009 from Homelo. Like
knee right to choke the face.
Yeah. Anything, just choke. The first time I ever trained with Homelo in Legacy, I'll never forget, man. At least 18th. I mean, it was just like shake hand tap, shake hand tap. Because he was still at his prime, you know. He was still like, that's when Homelo would.
He's like, we always joke. He's like, yeah, when you first train with somebody, you gotta confetti, you know. You gotta prove, you know.
He proved all right. He proved many years later.
I remember like Big Larry, you know.
Yeah.
Like I remember because he chokes he's rough, right? And choke the face sometimes, you know. And Larry choked him did the same thing to him, you know. And he's a massive man, you know. And he was pissed. Because he got marks on his face and his eye was kind of swollen. He's like, he was angry about it, you know. It was good times, though, man.
It was.
It's real, right? It's real. It's beautiful.
The way everything kind of worked out with Homelo and you and the gym and training there because the whole story.
But you were also training like with Autos and
before Autos I was with.
Because you moved to Brazil, right, for a little bit.
And that's whenever there wasn't Autos in America.
Right.
I went with Ramon, and I lived with Ramon, and then we had the original Autos team in Rio Claro. So this was kind of before.
How did you find them?
Remember I was training with Lucas because Lucas had came after 2007. The first Worlds in America, we were all competing in America. We were doing really well.
2007, yeah.
Yeah, and we fought the Worlds.
When they brought the Worlds from Brazil to the U.S.
And it was like, like we thought we were fighting jiu-jitsu, but we weren't really at any level that some of these guys were at, just because we all worked and these kids were coming like now that we've lived there and you kind of see, you're like, oh yeah, I had no business being out there with those guys. They're like, so we fought. I made it to the quarterfinals, and then I got killed. And I remember just like, I have no idea what this guy's doing to me. What is that? Anyway, it was bad.
Open up your mind. You're like,
yeah, I got to learn that. And then I knew that Leo Vieira had opened an academy, and Lucas Leite had stayed. So I was like, okay, cool. I want to go. And I watched Lucas fight, and he closed out the Worlds with Andre that year. So I started to go train with Lucas because
where was his gym at?
Man, far as La Habra.
He's still there then?
Yeah, he's still in the same area. So far, man. Because I was living in Santa Monica on 4th Street in Santa Monica, like in Santa Monica. I'd drive 2 hours to go train with Lucas. Because the same, Lucas didn't have any training partners really. And at this time, I'm just getting my brown belt. Pretty decent, I think.
Man, so you were driving to Lucas. You're driving to to Encino.
Yeah.
You were like all over the city.
Yeah. Just... Because I remember Homelo would always be like, "Oh, just come. I need somebody to beat up at night. At least you can move your body, and I'm just gonna smash you." And which was good, because I learned a lot, at the time. Because Homelo was different then. It was very like serious. Now he's older, he's relaxed a lot. But then it was like the most disciplined man I've ever met in my life was Homelo Bahal. Like the most disciplined man. And then there's Lucas. Lucas was very carefree.
He didn't party. He
nothing.
Didn't smoke weed. He didn't nothing. 100%.
That guy woke up perfect, ate perfect, trained perfect, went to sleep, repeat his whole life. Like that guy was. It's admirable.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
People don't even on a Sunday in Legacy. Remember the rope?
Yeah.
And I watched on a Sunday. This is all week training 4 times a day. This guy on a Sunday we're in the gym. Working out. I was trying to work out. Homelo was really working out. It was what you call it. Like, yeah, right. He climbed the rope 10 times. Never put his butt on the mat. Up, down, 1, up, down, 2, 10 times. And it was on a Sunday. I just looked at him like, I don't know if I want to do jiu-jitsu anymore after that, Like, I don't think I can. I could go up once. And then I couldn't go back up again, So I was training with Lucas a lot. And then Andre had came to fight, and he wanted to do his MMA career. So I would go pick up Andre, and take him to train with Lucas, obviously because they were from Brazil together at the time. This is before Checkmat is even, like just starting, and Brazil is just splitting, and all that just jiu-jitsu drama from the past we don't even need to get into. And I started taking on privates with Andre and training with him because I was helping him there, and he was great. So he was always just helping me and talking to me and giving me privates because I would give him rides to Lucas's all the time. It was great.
Yeah.
Then Ramon came for Andre's fight, and the first time I met Ramon, it was just like we just connected, and he didn't speak a word of English at the time at all, so we had to talk through
Google Translator.
Yeah.
Did they have that?
Yeah,
did they have smartphones at the time? It was the beginning.
It was beginning, so it was like the first iPhone.
The first iPhone 1.
Yeah. First.
Super slow.
Yeah, man. So it was like,
it's better than I had the dictionaries, the dictionary, pretty much like a translation dictionary.
Yeah, it was really funny. And then Andre was like, "Look, man, obviously Ramon's got to go back to Brazil, and we don't really. There's nowhere for you to train because we have a small gym in Rio Claro, and because if we backtrack, because after the 2007 Worlds, it was Rafa Gui, Ari, and Lucas Leite stayed behind, and Leo had taken them all around all the tournaments that we would do good at until these guys came in, and they were just
they brought in different techniques, right? It was like they say, I think people can say new school, but it was just different techniques that nobody had done. They would do barambolos, they were doing just funky stuff, and they had done the reps
ahead of a time. And
yeah.
Again, they're special, they're special. There will never be another Rafa and Guy ever, I don't think. So anyway, they came and trained, and I met them, and they were purple belts at the time, and I was training with them all the time, and they were all training at Lucas's gym, and we all just formed a really good relationship. And Ramon said, "Man, you need to come to Brazil. You need to know, for the real training, what it's really like." So I remember I quit my job, and 2 weeks later I ended up in Rio Claro. And
that's how you did it.
Yeah, and because I remember I went to talk to you. I went to talk to Homelo, and it was like, "Man, I'm going to move to Brazil." And it was like, "Yeah, the best thing you would ever do in your life is go,
Yeah.
Go and see." And my first day, my very first training was with this guy named Denilson. Unfortunately, he doesn't compete anymore. He went to MMA, but
okay.
He was
beast.
Man, that guy, I truly believe Marcio Andre and him were rivals at blue belts. And look at how good Marcio Andre is today. I truly believe Denilson, he would be at the same level.
That's crazy that was like, was it 2007 or 8?
2008.
Okay, so that's like 13 years ago. Isn't that crazy? If you think about it.
Just, man, I'm old. I had more hair back then. I just posted a picture of us in Rio Claro, and everyone was like, "Man, you had hair." And I'm like, ouch. Ouch, Man, I got killed. Denilson did think, it was just like, they told me, be ready, you come here. And my first day there, I was like, what did I do? What did I get myself into? And I was the only American around at the time. And it was great because, I was living with Ramon and Gilbert. And
was it a nicer neighborhood?
Yeah, it was small. It's country. Rio Claro is like, it's not a big city at all. So it's not. Okay. It's nice.
It wasn't dangerous, but it was.
Brazil's dangerous anyway.
It was kind of like in the, not in the big city, but it was
not at all. It's very small. Capita country is like.
It's amazing, huh?
Kind of like Amarillo. If I'm honest, it's like Amarillo, Texas. 250,000 people town. Very nice. There's not. Center was closed at 5:00. Done. There was one place to get acai and one bowling alley. So, being there, I can understand.
A bowling alley, huh? Brazil.
Bowling alley, yeah.
I don't think I've ever been to a bowling alley in Brazil.
No, it's different.
It's different.
A little hilly and rocky. It's great.
What was different about the bowling alley? I'm curious.
It was real wood. It wasn't like, and the balls weren't really. It was.
What was a Brazilian bowling ball look like?
Like the same we have here, but old. It was old. Where it wasn't smooth at all. There was dents and dings.
Oh wow, that's funny.
It didn't roll. It kind of bounced.
You wear bowling shoes?
You get bowling shoes, yeah.
You can get bowling shoes?
Yeah, I think so. If I remember correctly, we only went once.
Okay, that's hilarious.
There was one acai place we went to all the time, and
that's cool.
But the reason why all those guys were so good is there was nothing else to do. There's no distractions, you know. And I think, you know, if you live in Rio, there's distractions the minute you open your eyes. There's distractions, but in Rio Claro there was zero distraction, and everybody was so focused. The team was in one small gym, and everybody was very focused, and it was great because everybody really cared for each other's well-being. Like, it was truly like everybody wanted everybody to do very well. So it wasn't like, oh, I don't want him to do good because I want to do better.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was a really good environment, you know. So luckily for me, being in a place, living with Ramon and being next with Gilbert all the time.
That's crazy, huh? Gilbert Burns, Amanda's brothers.
Colassance.
Yeah, Colassance. All those guys out of a little town, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I was the only person there that wasn't a world champion. The only person. Ronaldo.
What do you think? You were saying some of the things that there was no distractions. What are some of the other qualities you think that made that special?
I mean, I think, you know, Ramon was a real coach. You know, I think Ramon was an amazing competitor himself, but when he moved to Rio Claro, it was like he gave up competition to be a coach. So he really focused on everybody and not himself, right? Because if you're in America and you're still competing at the highest level, you got to be
selfish.
You got to be, you know. I mean, you have to be. You have no choice. You are still focusing on your career, and you got to try to make sure these guys get what they need. It's a double-edged sword. It's kind of hard.
Everybody's different, right? Everybody's different, but for sure.
So I feel like Ramon was so, I mean, he was studying every day. Everybody's game. Everybody here, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this different. I went there playing half guard. I left there being a passer. You know, I never wasn't even my whole career I was full half guard. I went there and he's like, see Gilbert? Yes. You follow Gilbert. What he does, you do. Okay. And it made sense. You know, my body is, I have a freeway guard, you know, blow the whistle and just come through kind of thing. That's the card I play. So he really tailor-made the training for everybody and
for them to win tournaments and
everything. Just like the training, like, man, our training schedule was like, people don't believe it, but it was 9 o'clock every morning. From 9 to 11 was training.
What kind of training?
We drilled like an hour and a half, and then we sparred just little, you know. So the actually randori part of training was little because the drilling was so intense, and it was first positional, then it went to timing, and then it went to speed, and then it went to specific training, and then when you're dead, like, then you start training. But the level of training was so good that every match was like the finals of a tournament. You'd be like, oh man, I almost want to just sit and watch rather than train, because you see Hoffa and Guy really fighting each other. It's pretty impressive. You see,
how old were they at the time?
18, 19.
They were teenagers.
Yeah, they were still younger, you know. And
were they purple brown?
They were brown and then black. So really quick they're black. But what was cool is that they were still teaching and like helping. It wasn't like they were definitely focused on everybody was focused on each other. But at the end of every training, everybody sat on the mat and discussed the whole training. So what Hoffa and Guy, even after the training, Hoffa would help, you know, Guy would help. He would play, hey, Jay, you did this wrong. You need to talk, you know, like, look at this. And it wasn't like we're done training, it was leaves. Everybody would sit around and talk and then develop, and, you know, things would just evolve after everybody discussing it. Unfortunately, man, I didn't speak Portuguese very well at all at the time, so I wish that if I could spoke better Portuguese, I probably would have got a lot more out of the conversations, because, you know, they were talking so in depth about positions that you're like, wow.
But you got what they were doing, right? Yeah. They were discussing the training, the positions, what happened, what they can have improved on. So that was the morning session, right? From 10 to 12.
Yeah, so this was like from 9 to 11, we had a hard training. Then from 11 to 12, we had physical training. And it was hard, and it was with Tiago Mendes, which is Hoffengi's cousin. After that, we'd go eat. We'd come back for 3 o'clock. Same exact training as we did in the morning. Same drills.
2 hours.
2 hours. We've probably now drilled the same positions 400 or 500 times. same training, but slightly different depending on the schedule Hamon. But sometimes black belt and brown belt weren't able to train with each other. They were only able to train with the lower belts. Sometimes black belts would only train with black belts. The minutes would always change. It would be like 3 5-minute rounds. Sometimes it would be 10-minute rounds, 2, depending on how hard the training was before. Go home, eat, sleep, come back at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Did you do another PT session?
No.
Okay.
It was just come back and we would drill again and then fight, you know. And then
8 to what time?
About 10 o'clock.
Really?
Yeah, and then we'd go home.
So that's like 6 hours
every day.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Monday through Friday. And then
I mean,
on
that's,
Saturday.
you know, you can do the math, you can say whatever you want, but that's what it comes down to, right?
A lot of trainings, a lot of overtraining probably, if I'm sure.
I think that's, you know, like we always talk about with some other guys, like
you know.
There's a part of that, you know, mind over matter and just all the things that those things give you, right? In judo, like in Japan, like that's the name of the game, right? In Japan is like overtraining, right? But there's a power in that, you know?
There is.
There's a power in that, like it really makes you strong and tough and
smart.
Teaches you. Yeah.
Very smart. You get very, very intelligent, I think, with that. That's why the guys I think we're so intelligent, because you make one slight movement, they already know the ifs, ands, buts, how and why and where to go.
Right.
That's why Hoffa never loses position. I think that's why Guy is so precise when he, you know, I think people forget Guy Mendes is, for me, one of the best passers in all jiu-jitsu, because everything he does is just perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Hoffa's more just and ends up he's on your back, and you're like, what happened? Where'd he go?
And I remember watching the Abu Dhabis. I was in Abu Dhabi. I had gone with Orlando, and he went against Big Mac, I think. You know, it's like I think it was he was obviously the absolute weight category, and was it him or was it Gilbert or I don't know. Anyway, but it was just amazing, like just ridiculous how good all those guys were. Just like wow, you know. And that was like, okay, this like the new school, like the young guys, like there's a new sheriff in town, you know, in a way. And that was the time, right? 2009
is when we came.
2009, 2010,
yeah,
you know.
2010 is when
and
it
so
really
that was,
came with the
things shifted, and you have to, you know, you know, you just have to learn, right? You have to learn everything. You have to stay up to date.
Yeah.
You know.
But I
can't be like, oh, I don't do that stuff. No, you got to practice it. You got to train it. You got to know of it so you can counter it, or maybe do it too. You know, maybe.
I think it's having a coach. You know, having a seasoned. Hamon was very well seasoned and like cared so much. You know, and then like Draculino. Look how Draculino was a coach. He wasn't a world champion, but he was. Look how many world champions he created. Yeah. Hamon unfortunately never won a world champion. He beat Mario Hayes at the time. Nobody beat Mario Hayes. He won. Could he have been a world champion? Probably. But he chose to make a different career and become a coach. And I think it takes that to, you don't have to be a world champion to be a great coach. You know, obviously experience makes a lot. And, and if you look at all the great coaches of jiu-jitsu, you know, a lot of them are world champions, you know, and then a lot of them aren't.
Yeah, you don't have to. I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, like look at Greg Jackson, right? He never fought, you know. Look at Phil. I mean, Phil Jackson played in the NBA for like a minute, you know. But I mean,
he wasn't a superstar by any means.
So it's like it's a separate thing, you know. Either you have, you know.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that's where the career shifted with me with living with Hamon, is I didn't want to be an athlete so much anymore. I was more like, I want to be a coach. I was already teaching, you know, teaching in an academy, and you know, we had to do a lot of courses on how to teach and presentation and the art of teaching, and you know, there's a whole like art to teaching. It's not just you open your mouth and you go. You know, there's a whole philosophy of learning to be a good teacher. So I kind of already had that in me, and then living with him and watching all this stuff unfold, it really helped me. Like, oh, you know what? I want to be. I knew I wasn't gonna be a world champion. I was already older when I was going there, and these kids, my body.
Well, that was in your heart, right? That was in your heart. That's what you felt.
I went there thinking, oh, I'll come back a world champion, and then being there and really living.
You were inspired.
You were like, man, I'm not going to be a world champion. Look at, I knew where I was at my age and my limitations that I didn't have it in me. I've competed, you know, I've been on the podium at everything, which is good. Yeah. I'm happy. Would I like to have won? Of course, you know, but you got to be realistic, right? Like when I look at the training. I saw you smash
it. It was at the Pans, right? It was like, you should have won. It was close, right? You got the silver medal, right? Was it
I'm an idiot, man. I'm such a,
But it's a game of like, it's like little things, right? But you could have won that pans,
Pro at the pans, the world pro,
man.
same thing.
Yeah.
Just
you have what it takes. Don't sell yourself short. Come on, man. You're throw people on their heads and choke them out.
I guess when it comes down to
cut their hair if they need a haircut. You got them.
Let me take care of that real quick. Yeah, it's kind of funny because cutting hair.
You're the man.
Cutting hair and the angles of cutting hair actually are jiu-jitsu, so like I've done a lot of stuff with BJJ fanatics, and it's all about the geometry of jiu-jitsu, but
interesting.
It's like angles.
Getting the angles.
It's all about angles. Everything is about angles if you think about it, like the Jim Meraki
angles of BJJ.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to do something, you have to beat the angle. If you don't beat the angle, you don't get the position. Right? It's like if a building's not built properly, it's going to collapse. Well, your body's kind of the same thing. We are geometric, So I really kind of dove a little crazy maybe into that, and I really started to try to develop this whole like mind understanding of geometry and jiu-jitsu. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, really trying to.
What's the name of your BJJ Fanatics series?
I have a couple. I have Everyday Half Guard Destruction, which is pretty cool. I don't develop these names; they do. I would be like half guard passing, and that's pretty boring. Maybe like Jay, that's boring. And then geometrical guard passing.
Nice.
And then I have defending to offensive guard passing. And then I'm going to do another one pretty soon. That's going to be more takedowns.
Okay,
so
cool. Yeah, look forward. That's awesome. Yeah, cool.
Which I'm excited for that too, because
it ties in right to all the stuff that you do.
Yeah, I'm lucky because of judo, I think, because judo saves me all the time in jiu-jitsu, to be honest, because the art of gripping for judo is so different than the art of gripping for jiu-jitsu. It's different. Like if you break down the two sports, jiu-jitsu and judo are not even at all the same. Jiu-jitsu guys shake hands, you grab, I grab, you grab, I grab, and now we're holding. If I want to get a better position, I have to break your grip. And judo, I don't want you to touch me at all, because if you touch me, I have an opportunity of getting flown, So I don't want you to touch me at all. And the style of judo is always winning the grip and having movement. So I get my grip and I move, so you're never stable. You never control my collar and sleeve. Jiu-jitsu, everybody's like grab, grab, pull. Or if you want to stand, it's grab, grab, and butt goes back and fight, fight. So even when you're passing the guard, kumikata, which is gripping, is very important, because you can, instead of breaking the grip, you just win the grip. So then that grip is not as powerful, and you're able to focus more on your movement and your angles rather than, I need to break this grip. I'll just beat the grip. That person has to release that grip to move. So that really helps me a lot, and I'm really trying to instill that right now with, like, don't focus so much on breaking the grip, but winning the grip. I don't know if it works or not, but I think it seems to work.
Yeah, right.
It works for me.
Yeah. So. It's awesome. You got your brown belt from?
Not Carlos, from Jean-Jacques.
Jean-Jacques, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your brown belt from Jean-Jacques, and then you got your black belt from Homolo?
I'm not necessarily a Homolo black belt. He was there, but I got it. Gilbert gave it to me. Gilbert Burns put it around my waist with Homolo there. So
Gotcha. So Gilbert, okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool. So it was.
Did you ever get a federation?
Yeah, it's Homolo. It's not, everything's under Homolo.
Okay, gotcha.
At the time,
we're all one, man. At the bottom, at the end of the day, we are all one.
Yeah, we all come from the same place. People are, this whole American Brazilian jiu-jitsu thing that's going on right now. I'm really not for it. I'm just like, whatever, it's jiu-jitsu, man.
It's jiu-jitsu.
You gotta be respectful. Like if the Worlds didn't come here in 2007, if the IBJJF, which is a Brazilian organization, didn't come to America, then there wouldn't be Americans fighting like they are now. So I truly feel like, hey,
because kind of the Mecca. Well, we're in the pandemic time right now, but the Mecca is now SoCal.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It moved from back in the day it was Rio. But now it's here.
It is here. It is here. And look at all the guys from Europe that are so good. And it's like, it's not a European jiu-jitsu, it's American jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
We have some great athletes in this country. We have some great athletes in Europe and Abu Dhabi.
We're all one. Like I had Hoist. We talked to Hoist Gracie, and
what did he say
on the podcast.
about all that?
No, he said that he's like, man, like you know, Spanish jiu-jitsu is a guy from Spain it's Spanish jiu-jitsu. You're American, you know. But at the end of the day, it all comes from the same root, you know.
Yeah,
it all comes from the same root. So you know, it's like you learn from, you know, the Gracies, and you know, you have to give credit, right? Or the fodder, right? But same thing, you know, same thing. It's all the same
always
time.
Go back and just say, look, the only reason you're doing this is because of Colson Judo. Colson Judo,
right.
If we go all the way back, Colson Judo was the roots of jiu-jitsu.
Mitsu Maeda, right, going to Brazil and teaching the judo, right? Yeah. Which was because he left the Judo Association, right?
Yep.
And he's like, this is jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu.
And he told them that this is jiu-jitsu, but then he went back to the Judo Association and created the Tachi Judo again.
Yeah, the whole thing is like...
But it's all, back in the day, 100 years ago, was, you know, it was pretty much the same thing, right?
Same thing. And it's the same thing now. I just wish that we would be like that American.
Well, there's sport, there's rules, right? And so depending on how they change the rules, like even inside of judo, right?
Yeah.
How you can grip now and...
It's all political, you know.
Yeah, but it changes the sport, kind of, right?
Exactly, as it should. I mean, I think, you know, they're making changes to jiu-jitsu now to try to make it better and everything, which is great. Yeah. I like the idea of like...
I talked to Jimmy Pedro too on podcast, and he was just saying like, you just adapt, right? With whatever rules get thrown at you, you adapt to the game.
You just change.
So he's like, that's the right attitude, right?
That's all you can.
If you want to win, then you adapt, and if you don't, then you don't do it.
Just stop fighting,
right?
It's always going to change. Jiu-jitsu. Look at where jiu-jitsu was 10 years ago to where it is now.
Yeah, for sure.
The rules have changed. Adapting. The guards have changed. You know,
for sure.
It's serious. People are actually like...
Yeah. It's you can live from it, right? You can compete and make money, and you know, there's a lot of more options, right? Professional events.
I wish that's good. Finally.
Yeah, right. Back in my day, there was like zero.
Zero, man.
Yeah.
Like you ate 7-Eleven, you know, that's what you did.
Yeah. Well, there was some, but they were far in between, right?
Yeah, very.
To do it.
I wish it would be more, because if you do look at judo and the Olympics of judo, and it's like people would be like, oh, that guy, he fights for France. It's the same as like, we know we have Keenan, who happens to be American, who's man, that guy's an amazing. He's from America, or JT Torres, or Luke, or Mikey.
I mean, Abu Dhabi's trying to do that, right? Yeah. They're trying to do that. They're trying to organize it. You know, I talked to Megaton when I was in Abu Dhabi the last time, and he was like, some people, they don't want it to be like an Olympic sport, you know, because they don't want to lose like the, you know, the self-defense aspect and that kind of a thing, you know. That's what I was going to ask you, like, what attracted you to the sport, you know, more so than just, you know, because, you know, there's UFC, there's, you know, MMA, there's the self-defense aspect. What really attracted you? Because it seems like you know.
Man, it wasn't Royce Gracie in the UFC, to be honest. Like, it wasn't that. It was mainly the charismatic of Carlos, and like how he was like this
Carlos
Machado, like very laid back. This guy who's like super laid back, but man, he will beat your ass. And that attracted, because it's like, oh, this guy's so cool and super relaxed, and he does some really cool stuff on the ground, you know, like. Then you watch UFC and you're like, oh, Royce Gracie, man, and then it's the cousin, you like grew up together. Oh, now it all makes sense, and you know, I think that Brazilian culture that came, like, luckily I was at a time where there happened to be a guy that was close to my neighborhood, because in America they had California and Texas. Other than that, you didn't have any Brazilian or anything like this, you know, and he was the cool. He just brought that like
the energy.
Yeah, and you get that energy when you're in Brazil. The people are so loving and so open.
He's one of my favorite jiu-jitsu people.
Really,
and I've been around so many. He's one of my favorite jiu-jitsu people.
I think John Jock is probably
coaches and teachers, and just one of my favorite. You know, just he's like a very spiritual guy. You know, Carlos Machado.
I'd have to say John Jock didn't drink, or he lives a perfect lifestyle. And when I started to train with him, I just stopped drinking. Like, I would go have a beer in there, and, you know, I would go out to clubs and party at the time. And as soon as I met John Jock, I stopped drinking because he was like, that's why I'm not a big drink. I don't drink at all, you know, or no, I'm not into it, because I would watch him. He wasn't competing anymore, but he was like,
it's a way of life.
Yeah, like this is how.
If I'm gonna do this, that's not what I do.
It's a lifestyle, you know. It's like, it's a lifestyle, and that's what he truly does. So people ask me, like, who is one of my biggest inspirations of jiu-jitsu, and there's so many, man. There's so many I could go on for hours, you know, but John Jock really, like, with his limitations, as we know, and him being the person is the nicest.
What limitations, right?
Yeah. You know,
come on, man.
Well, true, yeah.
Right.
Actually, he doesn't have any limitations with, you know, having a handicap. It was like.
Was it handicapped, right?
It's like amazing.
Helps him get that hand in for the choke a little bit better.
Man, you let him get that grip. It's like something. It's like Homelo's grip, man. It's just like so strong.
Yeah.
But he's so smooth, and again, it was like that energy because they were older, obviously, and you know they have that nourishing kind of mentality about them that we don't get that today with some of the guys who are.
It's the Machado, right? It's the Machado influence, right? The Machado brothers. It wasn't like MMA fighting. It was pure like lifestyle jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
They competed and stuff, of course, so they were like tough and that aspect, but yeah, that was my first influence too as well. And I never thought I would fight MMA.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when I first started, I remember I did a thing and I was like, yeah, I'm not interested in fighting MMA. I remember like in the late 90s, I did an interview and I was like, no, I have no interest in, Judo stuff or whatever, MMA,
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought that was something you planned on. You really
I never thought. And then I got my black belt and I was like, I want to test it out, see if I can, see if this jiu-jitsu stuff works, after I got my black belt,
It works, exactly,
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
I guess you're right. Yeah, I mean,
and King of the Cage came to New Mexico.
Yeah, I remember.
And so that's when, and they were a big deal.
Mm-hmm. They were a huge deal.
And then I had competed at the highest levels, and so I did one fight, and I sold a lot of tickets, and they wanted more. I brought that's all they care about, promoters.
Then ended up in the UFC.
Yeah. I never, it's never my thing. I think but I just.
At least you did it.
Yeah, I did it for sure.
Better you than me, because I like that. I'm that guy that likes to sit there and be like, duck and move.
Yeah,
you should have been.
But man, the Machados, which is like I think the essence, right, of lifestyle, and what I appreciate, it's the Machados, right? But it's like, for me, it's like the real jiu-jitsu, but like just it's real jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah,
like stuff that works, like the Holtz Gracie jiu-jitsu. Like whatever works. Whatever doesn't work, let's take it out. Yeah. Let's learn. Let's always keep an open mind.
I think that's what John Jock was, and I think that's why he's still
like Higgin. Doing sambo, wrestling. All these guys learning everything.
I have a story about Higgin. I'll say that I was people that are out there will know. This guy, I don't even know who he was at the time. We were young. This really good jiu-jitsu guy came in, and Higgin was sitting on the couch in jeans and a shirt, and this guy came in. World champion at the time, was killing everybody.
Yeah.
Man, Higgin just got on, put a gi pants over his jeans and a jacket, tapped the guy in like a minute and a half, and just got up and was like, "Oh, good," and went and sat down.
Yeah.
It was just like,
yeah, he was that good.
Man, he was.
Yeah.
And even now, like, I would love to go back and train with John Jock now, because I feel like I'm.
But it was like it's like spiritual, but like a. Not in a bad way, right?
No,
it's like smiling, yeah.
Smiling, laughing.
And but so tough, so good.
Super positive.
Yeah, super positive.
And done. John Jock would do the same thing. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember he would.
That's powerful, It's like, that's really like strength, right? And you're like, man, I want to be like that.
But it wasn't even, he didn't even use power.
Right.
Like,
it's intelligence, right? Intelligence. Speaking of like path of least resistance or, maximum efficiency.
That guy just
That's
knew.
what it's about, right? That's what it's about.
And I've always come back to John Jock because people ask, what's it like training Homelo versus Andre first? Luckily, I've trained with some of the best in the world. But one thing about John Jock that I always wish I would have is you don't feel him until it's the end, and then you feel everything at once. You feel the pressure, you feel you feel it all, and you tap, and it's gone. And then he's just smiling like, "Oh, good job," and he'll do it again. And it's like the way he moves is just very like. One move, done. Next move, done. I feel like now there's so much movement trying to go, and you get really tired. But you see, John Jock's never even sweating, man. He's just over there like, yeah, it's good job. Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, he was Draculino's mentor, right?
Yeah.
And all the Gracie Baja guys, Carlos Machado was too, right? But those were the teachers of the
original
the golden era of Gracie Baja.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that brought out the best in everybody, like the Saulo Ribeiros. When I did a podcast with Saulo, he was saying that, I wouldn't have been Saulo. I wouldn't have done the stuff if they hadn't brought out the best in me, because I had to bring everything I had.
There's another one, Saulo, man. That's another.
Because they had all types of games, spider guards, like everything. They're the ones who brought, a lot of those things.
They did. Gracie Baja back
Coletas, Gordos, the Sokas, the Draculinos.
Man, Soka. I I remember I met him. First time I met Soka, it was at John Jock's. He came just to take a photo with John Jock, just like, and then John Jock would sit and tell stories. And I miss those stories because he would talk about Brazil and the families. And, you know, it's like, oh, wow, that's crazy. I agree. I think in America, like, especially in Southern California, I don't feel, maybe I'll get a lot of backlash from this, but I don't feel it's like so much the Gracies that really push jiu-jitsu in Southern California. I feel like it was more the Machados who really, like, in LA anyway, they were like,
you know, it was a different mindset. They were more open, right?
Yeah.
And they really taught the real jiu-jitsu in a way. I shouldn't say that like that, you know. They, of course, they had the Gracies, but it was like we had the tournaments, and they really, I don't know.
Pushed
it.
It
was just different. It's all good, right? It's all good. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the, you know, the original Gracie, the Hawaiian Gracie and stuff, right?
Of course.
You know, there's no, we can't.
And even when you look at that same, I love the, people ask me who I'm most inspired by business-wise or like jiu-jitsu, if I could have an academy like anybody, and I would really like to have an academy like Hiron and Hinner. Those two kids are phenomenal. They get a lot of slack for whatever reason. I don't really, because
haters are gonna hate.
I guess so, but you know, I have a lot of respect for them.
Peanut butter and jelly.
When I was a purple belt, I took a private with Hiron just on the choke, you know, and it ended up being like a 2-hour some lesson of Hiron just like going over. So we ended up being in the closed guard. It wasn't even like about the choke. It started like, so having that story and being around and watching him and seeing him train. I've seen him train with some really high level guys too. And
Hiron and Henner, like they're both top notch.
They are so good in jiu-jitsu, man. And
their communication skills, right? Which is a big part of it. You talk about teaching.
Yeah.
Like, you can do it, but can you teach it?
They're phenomenal. They're very educated. Like, I think they're the original John Danaher kind of type thing. They're very good.
They got it right. Yeah. They got the right stuff.
And they live. You know, they're not arrogant guys.
They're normal guys, but they work their butts off. They love what they do.
Yeah. So I would like to give them some credit. I would like to train more with them just because they're good.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good.
So you got your black belt, and then how did the Meraki BJJ start? That project, how did that idea start?
Well, I always wanted to have a school, you know, like that was kind of the idea of whenever I came back from Brazil was to open a gym. But unfortunately, you know, it was always like the way life happens is Hamon really focused more on Anderson, you know,
Silva,
and then he went to
MMA,
go that route. And then Andre came back to jiu-jitsu, and I was living in LA when I came back, and Gilbert just won the Worlds. 2011 is hopefully he'll pull it off again this Saturday. And just get it going there. Getting pumped up now.
Yeah.
So anyway, Homolo was opening a gym, and Gilbert and me, he was gonna go to MMA, so there was really nowhere for me to train. You know, I was living in LA, and at the time, the school was down in San Diego, and Homolo was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna open the gym. I'm gonna need some help." And I always had a very, very close relationship with Homolo. As you know, he always supported my journey, always. You know, which was always why I'd always go back to him and talk. And even when I was living in Brazil at another team, he was always on the, "Hey, how's it going? You good?" You know, and so I started training and teaching there, and then it was kind of funny
in Northridge.
Yeah, in the original Northridge, and then. So that was 7 years in, and we would go train at Sean Williams Academy at night just because of Sean Williams. You know, it's a lesson on its own. You know, that guy's another genius. I feel, you know, I have a lot of respect for Sean Williams as far as knowledge and everything goes. He's a great dude, too. He's just a great guy. So we would go train there, and Kenny Florin was always there. We'd always train, and, you know, I'm a big fan of Kenny. I thought he was one of the better fighters in MMA for sure, you know. And growing up or being able to be around jiu-jitsu a little bit earlier, Kenny was original American with Clay Pittman, and Travis Luter and some of the other guys that were going to Brazil. And so I was like, oh man, you know, and I was a fan. I'm a fan. I'm still a fan. I'm a Kenny Florian fan. Yeah. We were in the parking lot, and I was like, man, I want to open the school, and this is how I kind of envision. And he was like, yeah, I'd like to have something like that too, because we're always going to somebody else's school.
Yeah, right. I remember
like,
we would train. That was the time period I was training with him too.
Yeah.
Here and there, you know.
And it was like, well, we found a spot on total accident, and 2 weeks later, we're like, oh, I guess we're going to sign this lease. So Meraki came about, and we ended up opening this gym. And
Meraki, right? Is that
Meraki.
Meraki.
Yeah.
Meraki.
It's a Greek word. It means leave your soul and creativity within your work. Is the meaning of the word Meraki, which is cool because it just all kind of fit. And then, funny enough, the logo came from, I drew the logo on a napkin because it came from the Bauhaus movement, which is round, square, triangular geometry of building everything that's built today. That's more
geometry,
of a modern,
angles, right?
Yeah, it's all from Bauhaus. So the logo came from the Bauhaus movement, which fit Meraki perfect. Leaving your soul, creativity within your work. So we opened it. I sat in the corner and I designed it on a napkin, and we just kind of went for it. And then it just started to work. It just started to, the gym is like the philosophy of Meraki is, I'm not trying to build world champions, like if you want to be a world champion, you want to do this for your life, you need to go to a big school. You need to go to a school where you're around everybody's competitors, and and you need to have that mindset different. If you want to compete, great, I'll support you all the way. But I want to have more of an academy that's like an art gallery studio that you go and have fun.
Way of life.
Yeah, it's like
way of life, quality of life.
I don't want to teach more or less like, I want to teach a lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
And with that lifestyle comes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's fun, and anybody can do it at any age.
And you had enough people going through there. If the guy wants to be a world champion or whatever,
I want to direct him to a good school.
Yeah.
If somebody comes into Meraki and they're like, man, Jay, I want to do this for my life, I'm going to just tell them, like, in this school, you're not really going to achieve that. You need to go to a place where you live, breathe other people with the same mentality. I want, like I said, I want the people who come in and want to train, have world-class instruction, that of someone who's competed at a high level and everything. I would love to give them that, but I want them to not have to be like with the mentality of, I had to compete, I got to compete, I got to compete. I just want to have a school of nice people,
gotcha,
community of people. I don't want to have a separated competitors. I just want everybody, hey, we're all here, we're all run. And believe it or not,
what made you not want to be like a coach for competitors? What made you not want to do that?
Man, well, I did that. I feel
you did that, yeah.
I feel like I had a lot.
You had homolos and stuff, right?
I really feel I had a lot to do with Gabriel and Edwin. They would like to say, I had a lot of time with them, and being around a lot of the guys that were competing in that is great, and they're all black belts and they're all successful, and man, it's just a different. I just want to try to do something different. I want to try to build champions, because, like you said, you don't have to be a champion in jiu-jitsu to be very good in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
There's so many people that don't compete that live in Brazil.
Amazing, yeah.
That are like, if they did come, maybe things would change, And there's people here in America too that are really good. They just don't like to compete. Nothing wrong with that. So I want to kind of break that mold of like, man, just come here and train and have fun and not worry about the stress of being a competitor. It's tough. It's a tough life. A jiu-jitsu fighter has it's not roses, it's really tough. And so Meraki's just more, I just want you to enjoy training and learn jiu-jitsu, not learn competition, learn like
points. And
John Jocks was like that. It wasn't like just competition. It was, I'm going to teach you jiu-jitsu. And even in Rio Claro, whenever in the mornings was all competition, afternoon was all competition, nighttime was the regular class, but those guys trained just like we trained. And it wasn't like, it was just, I'm going to teach you jiu-jitsu. What you want to do with it, it's up to you. If you want to go into competition, great. I'll help you, and then I'll guide you in the right direction, put you in a good place that fits you, and I'll support you all the way. If you want to do it for mental toughness, great. If you want to do it to help you with your job, great. You've fought at the highest level competing. It's like, if somebody wants it, then great, I'll support it. I don't want to push anything on anybody. I just want to push let me share my knowledge that I have from all these people that I can share with you, and whatever you want to do with it, do with it. But be in a beautiful place doing it and have fun and meet this guy and meet that guy and form a whole community rather than not separate communities.
Right.
So that's what Meraki's trying. That's my goal, is to make it just one lifestyle. Come in, train, meet people, hang out, enjoy yourself, get a good workout in, learn some jiu-jitsu, learn some judo, have confidence.
Yeah.
And take it to wherever you want it, you know?
Yeah. You know, we talk to everybody, you know, at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing that jiu-jitsu gives you, right?
Yeah. I mean, it gave me a nice way of living. You know, I enjoy my lifestyle.
But just, you know, nice. That's the biggest thing. It's the lifestyle, living healthy, friendships, just your quality of life improves, right?
I think so.
So that's, I think for me, just doing it for, you know, for my, you know, all my life, like that's what it gives you, you know, like it's your quality of life. It improves your quality of life because you have amazing relationships, right? That never go away. You're living, you should be living healthy. You got to add the tactful stuff to it, you know, so you stay healthy for the rest of your life, you know?
You really do.
So, you know, all those things, you know, that's where it's at, you know?
I feel like sometimes whenever you're at that highest level and you're at that, cause you know, there's a few of the guys, like there will never be another Salo. There will never be another Romulo. There'll never be another Andre. Cause it's like there will never be another Draculino or John Jock at that,
There'll be a Jason Hunt.
Maybe not.
Come on,
hair.
Man.
Maybe not cutting hair, but jiu-jitsu. I'm just an average black belt like everyone else, you know. But what I like is like I feel, and I do feel this. I feel like some of those guys that are so high level, they feel like they have to build all these champions, but they really don't, you know, because they've spent their whole life being a champion. That I feel like it's a lot of pressure that they have on their shoulders, you know, to, you know, I look at Andre, you know, Andre has this huge team now and all these people, and it's like, Andre's accomplished.
Right.
Homo's accomplished what most athletes won't accomplish. And look, he's got, and there's so, you know, there's so many, Msoka, you know, Hoyler had his, everybody's had it to where it's like, man, I wonder what if they were ever to just be open to say like, man, I just want to just teach jiu-jitsu and just have fun, you know, like use this as an example that a lot of people don't know lives in Southern California is Nino Shimbri.
Right.
Arguably one of the best fighters
jiu-jitsu ever, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't see him like he just teaches jiu-jitsu, teaches yoga. He's not on social media. He's not like trying to be this. Yeah. You know, and I feel like Salo's the same. Salo's doing his thing. He's relaxed, you know, Shanji, homeless, you know, it's like a lot of people I feel just have too much pressure to build these people, which is great. You can build them. I mean, obviously if that's your goal, great. But I wonder if some of them just want to be like, man, I just want to hang out. My body hurts. I've put in so much time and effort to make jiu-jitsu today what it is, because let's be honest, if it wasn't for all those people, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation the same, you know? So I just, it's weird. Like that's a whole nother conversation I'm sure to have, but it's like, I wonder if they ever just feel like, man, I just want to chill and teach this guy some jiu-jitsu and not worry about 2 points, 3 points. Like, man, let me teach you how to survive.
Enjoy training jiu-jitsu just for the art of it.
You know, I always wonder like how that conversation would go, you know, with some of the,
because you get certain things built in, hardwired in you that it's hard to
unwire, especially when you're a kid and that's all you got. And you know, I think I was like that, you know, I think I was like that. I was, and then seeing it and having conversations, and it's like
we all come to the same place. I think just everybody I talk to, it's like the quality of life that jiu-jitsu gives you.
Yeah, it is. It's
nice. It's such a small piece, you know, the competing and the points, but it's much bigger than that, right?
Yeah, it really is way bigger than that.
It's more than the self-defense, more than the fighting, you know, the tournaments, you know, it's the way of life, right?
Yeah, training. You're touching each other. You have that energy. It's, you know, it's like, and the cool thing about jiu-jitsu too, different than other martial arts. So when I try to explain to people, it's like, me and you, if we want to train, we have to train together. Mm-hmm. So I put a lot of trust into you, and you put a lot of trust into me. That alone right there is like, hey, I don't know you. You don't know me, but we're going to shake hands, and I trust you. And you trust me. So that's pretty, if we break it down, that's pretty cool, you know?
Yeah,
to just
it's amazing.
Like,
that's what it's about, right? That's human connection.
Yeah, like we trust each other. We don't even know each other. And we're going to try this, that I'm letting you get my arm that could break, and I'm trusting that if I tap you, you're going to let go. It's pretty impressive, you know? So I feel like that's something that gives you a lot of confidence in having people that you trust like that. It's, you know, it's a friendship for life. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, you know, like
it's
you
true.
still talk to people you trained with
true.
as purple, blue belts. Well, you know, you still talk to
White
them.
belts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Same white belt. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, wow, it's cool. You know, I like that. That's one of the bigger things I think for me.
What's your favorite? What's your biggest takeaway from jiu-jitsu?
Problem solving, learning how to problem solve quickly, because that's what jiu-jitsu is to me. It's like you got to solve a problem really fast, or you're gonna tap. You know, so I think that's the thing, that being able to process information really quickly and try to make sense of it. You know, sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it works good. So I would have to say that's probably the best thing jiu-jitsu has really given me.
Problem solving,
Yeah.
critical thinking under stress.
I don't know about that. Some under stress, maybe. I just, it's kind of hard. I don't know if it makes sense at all. You know,
It does.
like,
It does. I understand.
Like I just feel like
Problem solving. Yeah.
yeah, it's like
That was.
you're scrambling, you're moving around so fast, and it's like I gotta figure out why this guy's trying to choke me and how can I stop.
And if you do get choked, like you tap out and then you start over again.
and you
That's the
figure
beautiful
it
thing.
out, you know, and do it again,
Yeah.
again, and eventually you'll find your way. So then you solve the problem, kind of thing. You know?
That's amazing.
So that's what I say. It's really helped me anyway.
Yeah. Awesome, man. It's beautiful, man. Man, thanks so much. Thanks so much for all the years. You know, it was such a surprise to, you know, just hear that you kind of grew up like a block away from my family's house in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And amazing to see you grow up too in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you really have. If you think about it, you've seen every since I really went on this journey. You've seen it from the day one that I walked into Legacy, and you and Homolo shook both your hand. We trained for the first time that night, and you know, I ended up helping some classes sometimes, if you remember. With a lot of people there. And
I saw you can become a competitor and compete and win, you know, even though you like to be, you're actually really humble. You're really good, and I appreciate your humility. You're always so humble, you know. You know, just you want to help people, right? You want to teach and share, and you know, and I know you love jiu-jitsu and you want to share it. You know, you want to share it.
I love, again, it's like I'm so lucky that I've had so many. You know, people throw this word around so much, like, oh, the whole creonch and leaving, but I've been able to train with so many people that have had such an impact that's like, when I look back, it's like I've fought some of the biggest names and I've trained with some of the biggest names, and I still am able to give back from them some way. And everybody should have, I feel like anybody that has aspirations to do jiu-jitsu, I mean, I get it, you know, like this team, that team, or whatever. Okay, fair enough. But if you have a friend who trains in another gym, go there and learn. Go there and ask that guy, because that information could be slightly different than this information, but it's all the same information. And
well, we have so much information now.
yeah.
Like, you don't have to go anywhere. You can look inside the gym. You can see the people before they do it in the tournaments, before they have instructionals out. You can watch them do it inside the gym. You have instructionals out. What are the instructionals again that you have?
I have every day. Well, just concepts I'm having to pass the half guard or inside daily.
On BJJ Fanatics, right? Jason Hunt.
Yeah, BJJ Fanatics. And then the next one is when it's grip fighting a little bit, which is good. You know, it kind of goes to what we were talking about. And then I have a geometrical guard passing system, like how to get the angles, like on certain guards, where do you need to get the angle to be in a position to pass? Not that you will pass, but to pass the guard. And then a defensive, how to be defensive to offensive. So it's all BJJ Fanatics. They're nice guys.
Awesome, man. How can people find you?
At Meraki Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You can go on to Instagram, Meraki BJJ, or I have my own. It's just J Hunt BJJ. I actually put it on pause for a while. I'm going to restart it.
Your Instagram?
Yeah, I felt like I was like just spending way too much time on that stupid thing.
On Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, I should be focusing on, like, I want to be a businessman too. Like, I'm learning. I'm such a white belt on this whole owning a gym kind of thing, you know, that I need to get way better. So I feel like if I'm on Instagram, I'm definitely not getting better. So I'm going to restart it today, but yeah.
No worries, man.
Please stop by if you're in LA. Come by the gym.
Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man. I think you're the man.
You.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Thank you
really
for your friendship.
Thank you.